are listening to AP Taylor Swift, the podcast for Swifties who are all about the lyrics. We're your hosts. I'm Jen.
I'm Muncie.
And I'm Jody.
And we are your unofficial professors of Taylor Swift.
Welcome back to another episode of AP Taylor Swift. We have a deep dive episode for you today. But before we get into that, if you've got a Swiftie in your life, have you thought about sharing this podcast with a friend?
Yeah, sharing is caring. Spread
sharing
the love.
Sharing is caring. So if you're just joining us, we are deep diving The Archer today. This is a continuation of our conversation on surrealism from last week. That was a fun one. We had our first guest. Highly recommend you go back and listen to that one first, because there may be some things we talk about here we don't talk about here because we talked about them last week. Although, who knows? Maybe this will be an entirely new conversation. Jen, why don't you get us started by grounding us in the rhetorical triangle on how we do a deep dive?
Yes, I'm very excited for this one. So the way that we do our deep dives, which as always, there are many ways you can approach literary analysis. This is simply what we have chosen, is just kind of starting with, okay, who's the speaker? Who are they talking to? And what's going on here? What's the purpose? What are they trying to communicate? And at the end, we will come back to the purpose and try to kind of figure out what did we think? Has our opinions changed? The reason I'm so excited for this is I often come in with like kind of an idea. The Archer, I have no idea. I have no clue. So I'm coming in real fresh, and we're going to see where this conversation goes.
We're going to be detectives today, try to figure this out.
I'm coming in with a controversial Swiftie opinion, which is I don't really love the song. I was very confused by it when it first came out, and then saw a lot of people just say that like this song, they feel this song in their bones and they love it. And I wouldn't say I hate it. If I go back to our Shake It Off episode, talk a lot about the difference between loving and hating something, or not liking it and hating it. I don't know that I understand it. And so I'm hopeful that this deep dive will help me get to a deeper level of understanding.
Yeah, it was definitely a song I didn't love until I heard her perform it at the Eras tour. And then something about that experience, I still don't get it, but it pivoted how I really connect to it, even though I don't get it.
I would say that one of the things that I think it does at the Eras tour is help define who is she talking to, right? Who is the you? I think what is confusing to me about this song is just what is she talking about? Who is she talking about? And when she's performing this in a crowded stadium, saying, who could stay? Who could stay? Who could stay? You could stay. I love that I'm going right to the end.
Well, I actually really did like this song from the beginning. It's not the one that I listened to the most, but I have always loved it because I think it just has some great lines that you love to say. That who could ever leave me, darling, but who could stay?
Who could
it's
stay?
Just such a like deep cutting lyric. But actually, as you all were mentioning the fact that you don't know what it means, I was also like, I actually also don't know what it means, and I don't know why I like it.
So maybe we start at the top.
I was going to say, I think this might be one of those, let's go line by line through this one and see what happens.
Let's start at the very beginning. A very good place to start. Sorry, I love a little sound of music. Anyway, go ahead.
Combat is
Mortal
the first
combat.
word.
Ready for combat.
I'm ready for combat. I say I don't want that, but what if I do?
Who wants combat?
Oh, I'm very confrontational. I love combat.
I'm like 2 lines in, we are confused. Yeah, combat is an interesting term because it's not like war. It's like
battle. She's saying battle.
It's not even battle. It could be hand-to-hand combat.
What's the difference between battle and combat?
Combat tends to mean, if you think Mortal Kombat's a good example,
I think of when I think of combat.
It tends to be one-on-one when I talk about like the medieval
medieval archer.
But when you talk about those, like combat is usually 1v1 or it's something like that. A battle is there's 2 big people.
Multiple people.
And this is where I'm already confused and really fascinated by this, because you say combat, but so song title, The Archer, great. First word, combat.
I think of hand-to-hand combat. Like I really think of like
I always think hand-to-hand.
Okay, but that doesn't mean that's what it is. I think this is the first one, combat.
Merriam-Webster has a fight or contest between individuals or groups.
Ooh.
I think, as we're talking about it, the reason why it's interesting to me is archery is very much a distance thing. Archers are in the back. When I think combat, and this might just be like just my personal, I think face to face. I think you are seeing your opponent.
You can see your
yet
enemy.
Archery is very distant.
Well, we talk about like definitions and then there's connotations, right? And
Yeah.
I think like what we're basically discussing is the connotation
correct.
associated with this word. Like Tom Cruise does combat in his like secret agent movies where he's like martial artist or like, I don't know.
It's a great reference, but I love that you picked Tom Cruise. And I could see in your face the second you said it, you were like, I don't know the names of these movies. I don't know where I'm going with this. I just know he fights in movies and that's all I got. That was amazing.
And also you didn't see my like ninja movement.
We will. We're putting it on social, so they will see it. Or this will be on YouTube. Boom.
Pow, pow.
Okay, so we literally are 4 lines in and we're still and we have no idea.
Okay. So either way, they're ready for combat, but I think the line, I say I don't want that, but what if I do?
But what if I do? So there's uncertainty here.
Some sort of fighting.
We also and what the second definition that Jody had was also about like being combative, which is like, it could be like verbal aggression, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I do see like that is like a more realistic interpretation here of like, I'm ready for it. Like I say I don't want it, but maybe I actually do. In that context, I feel like it makes a little bit of sense of like, yeah, let's fight. You know what? I'm feeling combative today.
It feels to me, as we always say, a very female experience. I think that's where I sort of kind of connect with that, where there's sometimes the two sides to me of like the exhaustion of just like fighting to justify your existence as a woman. And sometimes I don't want to do that. And then sometimes I'm like, you know what I do? Let's go. I'm ready. Let's just take this on. Let's go for it.
So that takes me to the second verse, because cruelty wins in the movies. I got 100 thrown out speeches, I almost said to you. So that idea of like, I relate a lot, Jen, to what you just said around like this idea of, okay, I'm ready, I'm trying, never mind, I can't do this. Like this is too exhausting to even have to deal with. So I'm going to throw away the speeches and the things that I would have said.
There's do not Google this, you get not results you want to get, but there's this phenomena in the first line, because cruelty wins in the movies. There's this phenomena of like women in film, if they have any sort of like sexual encounter, often end up dead. Like it's something you'll start noticing over and over again, is like the violence. To me, that speaks to the violence against women that you see in movies constantly. There's this website that is really fun. It's called Smart Bitches Trashy Books, and it's these women who review like romance novels and kind of like talk about it in the same way we do Taylor's lyrics.
Love that.
A little bit more of this academic approach. And the point that I've seen several times is that romance novels are dismissed as like, oh, these are not good books, they're formulaic or whatever. Yeah, it's the only genre where women consistently have happy endings. And as soon as you leave the romance genre, it's really hard to find women consistently have happy endings. I'll give you an example. The Avengers. Black Widow has been there since the beginning, doing the most, and she ends up dead. And that
Spoiler alert.
Okay, it's been several years now, so I don't feel bad about it.
My favorite thing is saying spoiler alert on things that have been out for a really long time, like The Odyssey. Spoiler alert.
I mean, Iron Man dies too. It's not that it's the only one, but you just see this, like, she never gets like she has like one happy moment in her own actual film, and then it's like gone immediately. Yet you get more of like the men having some happy moments, having some like good connections and stuff, but Black Widow's just miserable her whole time and then dies. So cruelty wins in the movies. Women tend to be the victims.
Black Widow. And in tying the context with the lines that come immediately before, I'm thinking of somebody who is combative or like feeling ready to fight. And I'm wondering if like the 100 thrown out speeches to me kind of can go with movies maybe. Like I feel like there's these really dramatic monologues that you see people have in movies, and somehow it always works. Like a character said something really, really dramatic or like really mean, and it really forces the other person to think about their life and like be moved by that, and then like somehow change. But like that, does that actually work in real life? Like
no.
I've gotten
into
ever
had the perfect amount, the perfect words unedited together? No, like, this podcast is edited.
But sometimes I'm like, I can only think of like combative instances with my parents where like I say this like amazing speech that I had in my head to be like, you know, if you had only blah, 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 like we could blah, blah, blah. And they're just like, you're an idiot. Like the response is never what you want it to be. It doesn't have the dramatic effect.
I used to watch a lot of Full House as a child, and you'd see Michelle Tanner or like Stephanie or DJ like say something and then march off, and then their dad would come in and come in and be okay. And then I was always upset that never worked out for me. Like
No, it
I'd
never
say
works
something
out.
and march off and slam the door, and my mom would be like, "You're grounded." Like, you're supposed to come in and like console.
Or like if you say something really provocative, it turns out it just like pisses the other person off more. Like it might not actually de-escalate anything, right? So
yeah, that resonates.
I wonder, like, that's kind of what I'm thinking of with these lines of like this, like maybe like cruel truths can be like a thing that works when there's a script
in the movies, but this is so I think what you're getting at is this is real life.
Yeah.
Like this is not the movies. This is my life.
Like it just feels like the speeches is alluding to like, I have a lot of words, they're coming, and maybe we're getting into the next line.
Yeah. Well, it's I say I don't want that, but what if I do? I got 100 thrown out speeches I almost said to you of, okay, like I don't want to fight. Maybe I do want to fight. So I keep writing these speeches and then throwing them away. And then maybe this is a back and forth from moment to moment of like, yes, this is going to be worth fighting for. No, I don't want to fight.
And I think it doesn't have to be like literal speech. It's like I've got all these ideas of things I want to say, and then I like go back from saying it or back and forth. So then taking that and tying it to the next line, then easy they come, easy they go. Like to me, I'm like, I think it's the words. Like
that's the speeches. They come and they go easily.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
I jump from the train. I ride off alone.
Okay. Start back at square one.
So I jump from a train makes me think you're jumping off the train, but then you're riding off alone. I also think of when Michael Scott declares bankruptcy and he goes and just sits on a train because he thinks he's going to be a hobo in the office, but that's probably not what this is about.
Well, I don't know. What if she jumps off a train and onto a horse to ride off alone?
That's what I was thinking too, but I'm like, why would you do that? Like what, in which scenario?
I mean, archery and horseback riding is definitely
something that Tom Cruise would do. Like, definitely
I think you're using
tracks.
Tom Cruise as like insert action.
Monty's the world's biggest Tom Cruise fan. You have no idea.
But my husband is actually, so this is where I get
he's gonna listen to this and be like, "What are you talking about?" He never did that.
But
I think the things here is the idea of jumping from a train and riding off alone, right? Like whether or not the actual image makes sense. Jump from a train is a rash decision in order to ride off alone and be, solo.
Okay, I maybe have an interpretation that makes sense here. I'm thinking about when we did the deep dive of the outside, she was talking about trying to take the path less traveled. And we've seen that theme over and over again. We talked about it again later in 'Tis the Damn Season, but that there's this constant, like, everyone's doing this, but I am going to go over here on this less well-trodden, less used path. So maybe that's what it is. I jump from the train. So we're all on this train going somewhere, and I'm going to hop off of it, and I'm going to go somewhere alone where I never grow up, and it's getting so old. Maybe she's going to Neverland.
Or like you get off on a station, like you jump. I mean, it's saying jump off, which is quite dramatic, but it's like, yeah, like it's almost kind of like abandoned ship. Everyone's going one way. And I'm going to go the other way by myself. I really like this interpretation. So I think I'm going to jump on the Jen bandwagon, but the Jen train. But I was like, I was originally questioning, what if there's an implied or there? Like there's a lot of contradictions in this song. So like, what if it's both ideas? It's like, I could either jump from the train or I ride off alone. Like we have like easy come, easy go. I jump from the train or ride off alone.
We get this like play on that inverse again of I never grew up. It's getting so old.
Right? The dichotomy between the contrast between the two.
Let's imagine we were singing this song over a long period of time, or she's listing off experiences from her life. It's like, it doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter if I jump on the train or if I go alone. Like, I'm just wondering.
If I don't fight, if I say the speech, if I don't say the speech.
Like, I grew up, it's getting old. Like, it's just, I almost wonder if we like backed up and looked at it from a broader lens, if you could have both. And she's doing both.
I do see that. I can still see too the interpretation of The train is people moving on. I'm
Oh,
kind of
I
going
like,
back
yeah.
to right where you left me. The train is moving
Yeah.
on. So everyone's on it. They're growing up. They're moving on. I jump off. I wrote, and I never grew up, and it's getting old. I'm still talking about this. I'm still doing this. I'm still refusing I'm still refusing to grow up.
I mean, I think that makes sense.
And then who's the you? We talk about it all the time. Who are they talking to? Because it's getting sold. Help me hold on to you. So we have, do I want combat? Do I not want combat? I've written a bunch of speeches to you again, but then we get to you of help me hold on to you. So is this someone you should be holding on to? Or is this a different you? Like,
two options here. You is singular or you is plural. And I don't even want to go any further than that. But like, if it's singular and she's talking to a person, she's talking about like a person she almost said speeches to, a person she wants to hold on to. The other is this the plural you, right? Like, I have 100 speeches I almost said to you, my fans, my people, the world, like, help me hold on to you, meaning where I am in my life.
Like staying alive, like help me hold on.
Help me hold on to what I'm doing in my life, where I am in my life.
I have an interpretation that so far I'm liking. We'll see if it falls apart. But later on, she's talking about, well, two things. One, she says, I've been the archer, I've been the prey. So she's identifying two things that she's been. And then she also talks about her reflection. What if the you is herself? What if this whole song is her in the reflection of this internal conflict of like, do I want to fight with myself? Do I need to like deal with this internally? I have a whole bunch of things, but I'm not going to say them to myself. It's getting sold. Hold on to you. Help me hold on to like the part of you, myself.
So like it's a self-love song.
Help me hold on to myself, to my identity.
Ooh, hypothesis.
Yeah, it's, like that kind of growing up moment when you feel like, maybe a lot of things are changing, and sometimes you fight with yourself and you're like, well, which path do I take? And this is that internal conflict, but help me hold on to you is this like moment of whatever is the core part of me, help me hold on to that. Like, help me stay true to myself, even if I'm not growing up, regardless of if I'm on the train or alone, help me hold on to you. Looking in the mirror, the core part of like, don't lose yourself in this journey. This might fall apart, but this is an interesting interpretation.
It's a solid hypothesis.
Especially when I'm like, I don't know what this song means. So like, sure, that could be what it is.
I think what I'm going the toxic relationship route for now, because combat, I think, you can combat against yourself for sure. Like if it's an internal conflict, I think I'm envisioning two people in close combat. And I think that there's this like person who's like very frustrated. The speaker is like very frustrated with the other party. I think to me, I never grew up. It's getting so old is interesting because that is admitting self, like your self flaws or your own flaws.
Yeah.
But then it's like the help me hold on to you feels a little bit like begging in a way that's saying like, I'm desperate to stay in this relationship. And maybe that's why you have the self flaws admitted first. There's like a moment of self-doubt of like, I need this, so help me hold on. But it's also like a mind versus heart kind of thing where the person's like, I actually do want to fight. There are things wrong. There are issues with this. I should not hold on, but I need you to help me hold on because I kind of need this because I myself am so flawed is like kind of where my head is at so far.
Right?
Yeah, we kind of have a man versus self conflict or a man versus man conflict options
and
floating
what I just wrote down was like, the song to me right now shows like a loss of purpose and self-esteem. Yeah. And like someone trying to find your courage or yourself. But like, as far as I've got, it's just there's this sense of, what is the purpose of the song? The sense of like purposelessness and just like a loss of self-esteem. And I can't quite tell yet. Is she talking to herself? Is she trying to talk to a person to ground herself in somebody's staying with her and being by her side? And is that what she needs in order to feel like she has purpose and self-esteem? Or is she trying to ground within herself to find that purpose and self-esteem? Or is she trying to ground in the broader context of who she is in the world?
I also think it's interesting because that I jump from the train and I ride off alone is like, it feels like a decision she made or the speaker made consciously to do that. But now it's getting old. It's like, I never grew up. Everyone else moved on. I stayed here. And I thought that was the right thing to do. It's almost like a Neverland kind of thing. It's like, I went off to Neverland, but now it's getting old. And
she's ready to be with someone.
Yeah, it's like, and now she wants to attach herself to somebody, and it's like, help me hold on to you. Like,
but is that possible? Who could ever leave me, darling, but who could stay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have the whole chorus of I've been the archer, I've been the prey, who could ever leave me, darling, but who could stay? Really fascinating to me that we start out with combat, but then we get into prey, which is much more of a hunter-hunted language. Prey is not really a armed combat language. You hunt a prey. But then we have the archer. So these are two, I mean, you can hunt with archery too, but we start out with combat and archery, and then we have prey. And so it's not I've been the predator, I've been the prey. It's I've been the archer, I've been the prey, which is interesting.
What if this song is, and you might have said this, Monty, because you were like toxic relationship, like she's in the middle of a fight. Like, I'm ready for combat. I said I don't want what you want, but what if I do? I could be cruel, it wins in the movies, but I can't really bring myself to do that. I'm used to being alone. I'm used to being on my own, being independent, but that's getting old. You're what I want. I've had both sides. I've been the archer. I've been the prey. Who could leave me? I know I'm wonderful. Why would anybody leave me? But also I have all this self-doubt. Who could stay? And then the rest of the song is still like dark side. I search for your dark side. Like, I'm trying to find something wrong with you. But what if I'm all right here? What if I don't know what that means. See, I lost it again.
Yeah, we're getting too fast. It's too fast. Slow down, Jody.
Too fast. That's the next part. That's the next part.
No, but
this is where I still see this man versus self potentially of I've been the archer, I've been the prey. So these are the two parts. There's the cruelty, but there's the
this is a master's level song. This is not an AP song.
It's okay. We're here.
We can do it. And who could ever leave me, darling, but who could stay? Again, the two things. You have these two sides of something that is magnetic that of course everyone wants, and then there's something that is not so great, which I think is what we get into the next stanza. That is, there's something
it's
wrong
also
that's going on here.
That she says who. I mean, I do agree with Jody in that there's a self-doubt there of who could leave me, but who could stay. But it's interesting that she starts with who could ever leave me when it was her choice to jump off the train. Like, I'm still stuck on the, like, I jump off the train, I ride off alone. You separated yourself from everyone.
Well, there's a very different thing. You leaving versus somebody else leaving are very different things.
Yeah. So I think that's interesting that, like, she left on her
that's
own.
okay.
It's getting old, and now she's looking for someone who will stay.
So sometimes people leave before they get hurt. Because they don't want to get hurt, right? They don't want to be the ones that get left. You got to leave before you get left. That's a Taylor Swift line, right? I can feel the flames on my skin. Well, anyway, sorry.
This is going to be a fun episode because it's like there's funny jokes, but then we're also still so intensely thinking about it that we're like, yes, good joke. But also, here's the thought I've been working on too. But there is that self-doubt, but also she says the word darling, and I feel like there's, again,
that word
that does something. Again, there's the like I've been the archer, I'm seeing two sides. I've been the archer, I've been the one who's writing the speeches, I've been the one who's ready for combat, that's confident. Who could ever leave me, darling? But then I've been the prey, I've been throwing out the speeches, I've been jumping off the train, I've been never growing up, so who could stay? That those are like the two things happening.
Yeah, I read the who could ever leave me, darling, as like false confidence. Or sarcasm.
Flippant. It's flippant.
Flippant. Yeah. Sarcasm is a word that keeps coming to me because it's just like one of those things that, you flippantly say, like, roll your eyes and you're like, who would ever leave me? Like, I'm perfect. I'm amazing. Duh. And then you're like,
but who could stay?
The next line is the more realistic, vulnerable, and honest, but who really could stay?
And then if we go into, I mean, there's definitely two sides to this person that is they're navigating or at least kind of wrestling with, the archer and the prey. But then we get into the dark side. I search for your dark side, but what if I'm all right here?
Okay. I search for your dark side means this person may not have a dark side. She's looking for it. She's deliberately trying to find it.
But why would you try to find someone's dark side?
Because she's ready for combat. And I think that goes back to the first line. It's like,
Jen's face.
I say I don't want it, but what if I do? I'm deliberately looking for combat. So this person needs
therapy.
Well, yes.
Well, yes. Everyone needs therapy. So if it, so far in the song we're struggling with, am I going to be competitive? Am I not? There's these two sides, and here we get dark side. I search for your dark side. Are you looking in the mirror and being like, okay, so everyone, I'm competitive. I'm the archer. I'm the one that's hunting. So do I have a dark side? But what if I'm all right not being in my dark side? What if, I'm okay? And this is coming after reputation too, of saying like, maybe like that was good, that was cathartic, but like I don't need a dark side anymore. I'm working through that. Maybe I don't need the combat. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. But what if I'm all right here without the combat? This like constant questioning.
The one thing that kind of trips me up to your man versus self theory here is the changes in the tense first person, second person here, because it is saying, I search for your dark side. And then it says, but what if I'm all right? And I just think that's really confusing. Like if we're saying you is yourself.
Nietzsche. It was Nietzsche, which is why this is so hard.
I'm thinking a little bit of even Antihero, how she has the two, literally she's split in two in the Antihero music video, where it's kind of doing that same thing of like, you have, your evil reflection of like, well, I'm looking for your dark side, you're supposed to have it, but I'm okay here. And she does that in the Antihero music video where she's kind of like, no, yes, maybe, like there is that like kind of tension between the two of
the Nietzsche quote, the worst enemy you can meet will always be yourself.
Such a cheerful guy.
He is. But that I think brings a lot of clarity for me in this song, where what she's talking about is that inner turmoil and that she is her own enemy here, right? I'm ready for combat. Like, I don't want that, but what if I do? I ride off. Like, I jump from the train. I ride off alone. Yeah, right. Like she's torn between the things. Like it's herself. She is fighting with herself. I'll keep reading. In literature and film, man versus self is a type of conflict where a character struggles internally with self-doubts, a moral dilemma, or their own nature. Right? That's really what we're talking about.
I get that. I just don't know if I'm like ready to commit to that theory yet, because I do think in the words it's confused. I think that's a very valid interpretation of this. I just feel like I'm still stuck on the like it might be two people, but I also don't have any.
I don't think it doesn't mean there's not another person.
We don't have evidence. Yeah, we don't have evidence to back it up either way yet. But
I don't even think that would necessarily mean. I don't think focusing on a man versus self conflict and that she's fighting with herself, she's her own worst enemy, has to mean there's not another person here, right? There could still be another person here. She still wants a relationship. Help me hold on to you. But what she's fighting is her own tendencies or desires to, go off alone and be on her own. But she's like, wait a second, I've been the archer, I've been the prey. Like, what if I just want to stay here?
I think there's definitely an internal conflict no matter what. But I do think that the meaning of the song changes, whether you interpret it as being monologue, like with her, an internal like struggle with like her,
or if she's talking to somebody
anti-hero
else.
Or whether she's like actually talking to a second speaker. And I think it could be both.
What does this mean? And I cut off my nose just to spite my face. What's the origin of the phrase?
So,
well, it was a real thing in the Middle Ages.
This is your jam.
It has to do with shame. If somebody did something super, super shameful, their nose would be cut off.
Oh, shit.
To show that they've done something shameful.
It could also sometimes be an act of revenge, which is kind of fun to think about.
There's nothing I do better than revenge. So,
But it's cutting off your own nose, so it's not cutting off somebody else's nose. So in this case, I think it's like the shame meaning of like
that you bring upon yourself.
I think she's like, I humiliate myself just to spite my face. Is interesting. What does that mean?
It's self-destruction, usually motivated by some sort of like anger or a desire for revenge. So the example I saw, honestly, on Wikipedia was like if a man was like really mad at his wife and decided to burn down their house to like get back at her, he's cutting his nose, to spite one's face because he's burning down his house and his possessions too. So it's that like, I'm going to do something that's kind of like extreme, but it's ultimately going to come back and bite me in the butt.
Which is karma. It's karma.
I don't know if that's a great definition of karma. But then it's like, then I hate my reflection for years and years. So it's like you do something in a moment of rage, Like,
And then
it's
you hate
almost
yourself
like,
for it
yeah, it's like
for a longer time.
You do something drastic and kind of humiliating, like
And
in a
dumb.
moment to just like make a point, and then you're like, I'm an idiot. Why did I do that? And then you're annoyed at that for years and years, which is a long time. To me, this is like interesting because I don't know what that has to do with the dark side line though. So again, like just trying to like connect now, constantly finding the dark side in the other person, like the person or the self might not have an actual dark side. You're just looking for it. And then she's saying, but maybe I'm fine right where we are, not in the dark side, but still searching for it. And then it's like, but again, here's my psychotic side, or here's my flaws again.
Someone on the interwebs described this song as the song version of an anxiety attack, and that's probably why I don't like this song.
This is not what my
Yeah,
anxiety
same.
attacks feel like.
Oh,
but that's
self-doubt
okay.
and spiraling and all of these it's like word vomit of like thought vomit, basically. Who could, yeah.
I just get really sweaty and start crying. I have no thoughts in my
I
brain.
have too many
Yeah,
thoughts in my brain.
I
Wordless
stop
panic.
breathing. I have to, yeah.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Hyperventilate a lot.
Anyway,
We're fine.
mental health. It's really important.
It is interesting. Because it does start with and. So
Yeah,
it
it's
is
connected.
connecting the stanzas. Yet it does feel like we're making a turn in the
Right.
Wouldn't
conversation.
searching for
too.
someone's dark side be something that you would do that's like destructive?
Yeah, maybe in searching for either her own dark
somebody
side or
else's,
someone
yeah.
else's dark side, she ends up damaging
Right?
herself,
Like if
finding
you're-
something out about herself, finding something out that damages,
A
and so then she
relationship,
can't
right? If
look
you're
at
looking
herself.
for someone's dark side,
Yeah.
and if that's what ends up ruining a relationship because you went in and dug up something,
Yeah,
you did it to yourself.
yeah, like looking at someone's like phone, and then you do find that text that they've been cheating, and you're like, oh well, I just hurt myself in that process as well. That was not.
It could be like you saw something you didn't like and let your thoughts run away with it and interpreted it, and then you were like, oh, wait a second.
We'll come back to this line, but it's a troublesome one.
Yeah, it's interesting. It is a troublesome one. I wake in the night, I pace like a ghost, the room is on fire, invisible smoke, and all of my heroes die all alone.
Ooh.
Again,
This
help
is
me
the
hold
Jane
on to you.
Eyre, what was it, the one, Wuthering Heights verse?
Yeah, yeah. So Jane Eyre literally wakes up to smoke and fire, and then Heathcliff is just. It's just
This
like
is the Bronte.
Gothic,
This is the
let's
Bronte
wander
verse.
I mean,
Yes.
this to me
Yeah.
definitely speaks of just like being so worried that you can't sleep, or there's something
Yes.
that's keeping you up at night. You
Yeah.
wake in the night,
And invisible smoke, so it's not even necessarily really
it's not there. The house is not
there.
actually on fire. Yeah, it's like the room is not actually on fire, but it feels like it's on fire. Like she's saying the room is on fire. You just can't see it. It's not real.
All of my heroes die all alone. Help me hold on to you.
Yeah, that
Depressing.
I don't know what that means.
I mean, that again might be some of the cruelty in the movies. You see iconic women don't get happy
Or
endings most
any
of the
women
time.
don't get happy endings.
Yes, I just think movies. But yeah. Yeah, that you get. It makes me think of, I have a musical reference. It makes me think a little bit of like Into the Woods, where you have the traditional happy fairy tale in the first half, and then
It goes
everything
to
falls
shit in the
apart in the second half. And this is the second half. This is the cruelty in the movies. That this is.
I also think if we look more literally at like, again, we don't know if Taylor Swift is the speaker, but if it was, what it takes to be that successful often means foregoing close relationships, because that's a really hard thing to maintain in such a big public life.
I do like that angle. I mean, with celebrities also, you have a lot of deaths due to drug abuse or like really tragic endings where...
Yeah, I was thinking of Selena, how she was killed by a former fan club president or something. Oh, I used to watch that movie all the time when I was younger. The one with Jennifer Lopez. I don't remember it now.
That actually, to me, gives me like a new meaning to wake in the night, pace like the ghost, room is on fire, invisible smoke, of like paranoia and like worrying about maybe the fame or so.
I love that it took us until halfway through this song to be like, maybe Taylor's the speaker and this is about
Well, no, it's not.
Well, it's because it's so relatable outside of Taylor too. Like it doesn't
No, you're
just
right,
have
you're
to be
right.
fame, but it can be success at
Anything,
any
yeah.
level
right?
as
Like
a woman.
I remember hearing a story about someone, an executive female, who was like, I didn't have kids because I couldn't both have this career and have children. And I'm like, that is devastating that is how you made that choice.
That's super common in academia. I know a lot of female professors who wait until they got tenure
No, but
before they even
this is saying
considered a
like she
family.
just plain didn't do it because she knew she could not have both.
I am I think potentially leaning more into the Jen camp of like maybe this is an internal struggle, but also professional
me.
interpretation. Like let's just like
Career.
recap what we've talked about. Combat, I'm ready for combat.
Oh,
Say
yeah,
I
that's
don't
work.
want that. But what if I do? She has been known for like picking up legal battles, challenging norms. Like she says she just wants to like do her own thing and not get confronted and not be called out. But she's also like, what if I am ready to take this on? Like, yeah, bring it. Bring on the fight. I can deal with it. I want to fight. I want to like take this on. Has 100 thrown out speeches. I almost said to you, easy they come, easy they go. Like you read things online, you're getting comments from media, you're dealing with all this stuff, and you have a lot of things that you could answer with and say, but you don't. Jump from the train right off alone is like so in line with fame. It's like everyone goes one route. You decide to take another route. You're kind of on your own.
You're on your own, kid.
But I'm still like, okay, how does that tie to the chorus? Like, help me hold on to you. I've been archer, I've been the prey.
You've been on both sides.
I still really think help me on to you
About
is,
a person.
in that interpretation too, holding on to your true
Yeah.
self. You're in this combat, you're in the media, you're navigating success when people are trying to take you down. How do I hold on to like you? Like, or even like looking at a picture of yourself as like a kid of like, how do I hold on to you, my
or
true
the
self?
Fans.
And the
Or the
dark
fans.
side
I think
too.
it can be all of the above.
And
I don't think it has to be
Yeah.
one or the other.
I think the fans and her like true self might
Yeah,
be very
that's
tied
true.
together. But I also think the dark side too is like if we take it that way, that the way, again, we can talk about it with Taylor, but I've seen it with so many women that the way other people paint successful women is very calculating, manipulative. And so that to me is like looking in the mirror of like, do you have a dark, like, are they right? Like, is there something to that narrative? I don't think so. I'm happy with what I'm doing. I don't think my decisions are
Or
coming from
even
a dark side.
the dark side of fame. Like people
Right.
say like, oh, when you get this big, it comes with the dark side. You get
And
too
what
rich
if I'm all right
and then
here?
you're not happy.
What if like, okay, there's a
Yeah.
lot going on. There are dark sides, but I'm all right here. And then you ask the question, Monty, like, what does I've been the archer, I've been the prey have to do with it? Well, the archer is someone in a position of power and the prey is not. And she's been
killing
both.
it. The
She's been
archer is
both.
someone who is
Literally
killing it.
killing it. And prey is someone who is being hunted.
Yeah.
And she's
Yeah.
been both. And I think whether this is Taylor in her career or any woman in their own career saying like, okay, I've been
Yeah.
on both sides, like what do I want? What is my path? And how do I stay true to who I am if like, you know, I have to give up a lot.
I think it's starting to
get
fit
there.
together and make more sense because it's also like, who could ever leave me? It's like you think you have fame, power, you have all these followers. You think like I'm doing all this great stuff. Like who could actually ever leave me? Like I'm doing good work.
Yeah.
But then you also have this like
The downside of it all.
vulnerable side of like, but who would stay? Like, or why would they stay? Like they say fame is a fickle thing. Like it can come, it can go. There's no guarantee that it'll stay.
The Taylor it all relates a lot to the song Peace. Would it be enough if I could never give you peace? Right? Like who could ever leave me, darling? Who could stay? I see those two lines as really intertwining and relating to one another.
Well, and so we get back to the chorus in the next stanza. The only difference, which is interesting, is screaming. Who could ever leave me, darling? But who could stay? Which is fascinating to me with this song. When this song is very
not screaming.
Anxiety or not, it's
Yeah.
very soft. It's not a screaming song, and so it feels like to me we're revisiting those thousands of speeches or hundreds of speeches again. That I think this is cyclical. It's okay, you know, oh, do I have a dark side? Do I not? I'm the archer, I'm the prey. I'm screaming because it's like I'm just so frustrated. And this is getting old. I'm screaming. Who could leave me? Who could stay? But it's this ongoing conflict that's just not resolving.
I think in this chorus, I'm actually tying the who could ever leave me, darling to the prey because the screaming, I think could actually qualify the prey line before it. So if you're like, I've been the archer,
Been the
and I've been the
I
prey
see.
screaming, who could ever leave me, darling?
screaming.
Like I've been the prey.
Interesting.
As when I was the prey, I would like throw a fit, be like, I'm screaming, who could ever leave me? Like I've been there. And you could almost say like who could stay is like the more mature version of like I'm an archer who recognizes who would stay, or I've also been the prey screaming who could leave me. Like I've been both.
With the Eras Tour back in action, it is time to be bejeweled once again. If you're looking for rhinestones so you can DIY your Eras Tour outfit, look no further than Crowned Crystals. I rhinestoned my Lover glasses, some t-shirts, and a clear purse, all with Crowned Crystals rhinestones. It was beautiful, and I got so many compliments. And we've partnered with Crowned Crystals so that listeners can get 10% off of their order with code APTS. Head to crownedcrystals.com with 2 Ks, crowned with a K and crystals with a K, and use code APTS, and you too can make the whole place shimmer.
And then we get into the repeating line. And this is where I have a whole new question. We have the I, we have the you, and now we have they.
Ooh, I see through me. I see
They
right
see
through
right-
me.
Oh,
So who's the they here? Is the they the fans? Is they the
Media,
strangers, just the
people,
people around
everyone. Could it be like an everyone in one bucket? Like I see right
Yeah.
through me. They see right through me. The repetition.
it's
also,
everybody who's not you or I.
It can be,
There's the they.
but it could be multiple theys. Like it could be like
Well, that's what I'm
they.
saying. I think it's more vague.
Well, it
I
could
think
be
it's-
like multiple groups of people. So it could be like my managers see right through me, the fans see right through me, the media sees
I don't think
right
it's the
through
fan.
me.
I think the fans are you. I think it's
But there's still, it's like it's almost like her listing off like here are all the different people. Like
because you know who doesn't see right through me? You don't see right through me. I see right through me. They see right through me. The you does not
Can
see
you?
right through me. Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
she's asking. They
She's
might.
asking.
She
She
doesn't
doesn't
know.
know. She doesn't know. But she's so certain that they can see through her.
can you see right through me?
This should have been our
That's the
final
only
exam.
question.
This is
It's very
literally
interesting.
like
This is where I do get the anxiety in the song because the repetition is like, to me, this is the part of the song where it feels like she feels caught. Where she's like, okay, I have these two sides. I'm the archer. I'm the prey. Do I have a dark side? Do I not have a dark side? You know what?
someone
Everyone sees right
seeing
through me, anyways.
you is just like a terrifying thought.
Or it can be caught. It can also mean you're invisible. Like it can
I was
also
thinking
be
that
like
too, going back to the ghost, the invisible
Yeah.
smoke.
yeah, it could be like they actually like by saying they see through you, it can also imply that they don't see you.
You don't exist
So-
to these people.
Yeah, or like they're not actually recognizing you.
Or you're
like
wearing an invisibility cloak.
or you're wearing an invisibility cloak. Yeah.
It makes me think of in Mean Girls the musical, there's a scene at the very end where Katie and Regina post bus hit are in the bathroom at like prom or whatever, and they just have a conversation, and Regina just says something about like, I was like so popular that they forgot I was a real person, that there's a real human behind all of this, and like it doesn't excuse the bad stuff Regina did, but it's just this reminder of like, I'm a
still a
person
human
too.
being.
Just because everyone admires me, everyone wants to be me, or everyone hates me, I am not an object. I'm a person.
And I love the you may be the fans kind of theory because it's like they see right through me. Even I see through me sometimes. It's like even she's saying help me hold on to you as like something to anchor. But it's like even I see right through me and they see right through me. But then it's like asking this kind of desperate question of like, can you see through me? Why wouldn't it be like a do you see through me rather than can you see right through me?
I don't know. Just save that for a grammar episode.
Because sorry, like the reason that I asked, the
No,
reason
no,
that
I
I
totally
asked,
see what you're asking.
It's
Yeah.
a good question.
changes the
It's a
meaning
good
because
question.
can you implies she wants
Are you
that
capable
outcome.
of?
Yeah, are you
Yeah.
capable of seeing through me? But why
Yeah.
would you ask that if you want to be seen? So that actually to me changes
Well, because I
the
think
meaning.
okay, so I'm gonna think as I speak as I think. Do you see through me? Is is what are you seeing? Can you see through me? Is are you capable?
But that
of
means
seeing
she
through me?
wants to be seen through, right?
No,
Like
it could
that
also mean she
implies
doesn't want to be seen through.
there were two meanings of see through, right? One is like I'm invisible. The other one that we said first was like get to know the real you.
See through the
Right, like
mask.
see through your
See
bullshit.
through the mask. Yeah. Yeah. And so I actually think now, like, because of the can, I'm like leaning more towards the see through the mask.
Yeah, that's how I see it. Is like, can I see you for who you are, or am I going to?
Yeah. The other version is seeing through is like invisible, of like you're not a person, you're an object, you are something beyond humanity. You as a person don't exist. I'm going to see through your humanity into your art or a couple of your actions, and I'm going to make big
And
judgments
that's what I see.
about
They
that.
see right through me, meaning like you're not a person. I see right through me, means sometimes I don't think I'm a person. Can you see right through me? Or
So you're using both meanings in
You're
this.
using both meanings, yeah.
Okay. Well, you know,
Which
it's a very
isn't wrong. That's
complicated
interesting.
song.
No, that's a really interesting take.
Yeah, I'm like,
But
hold on, let me
that's where the
let me
miscommunication
marinate.
was happening.
Yeah, I'm like, let me marinate on that for a second.
That's really interesting.
Okay, assuming that we're going with
Humpty Dumpty.
No, wait, stop.
Oh,
You're rushing me.
This will be a 7-hour episode.
I know.
Okay, we're almost done. We're almost done because the last P is just like repeating.
It's
We're at
just
the
repeating,
bridge,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Okay.
So I do think that
the
this
bridge.
part
We're
is
at the
really
bridge.
important.
Hello.
But that's why I think it's important
That's why
because it's like clearly this is a pivotal moment. But I think like see me for who I am is like the meaning that we're going with because I think she wants to be seen, right? And so she's like, I see right through me. Like I know who I am. I know the reality. They see through me. They know too. But can you see me? And so now that's like kind of shifting the who they is and who you are a little bit in my mind. It's like some of us can get right to the heart of it, but can you?
I think it's all, can you see me as a real person? I see right through me means sometimes I don't see me as a real person. Can you see through me is, but then if you can't see through her, it means you do see her as a human being. She is tangible.
So then she doesn't see herself as a real human being because she sees right through me.
Sometimes,
Okay.
yeah. I think that's the crux of why there's so much self-doubt and insecurity in this song is because sometimes she right. I'm ready for combat. I say I don't want that, but what if I do? Right? She is unsure and uncertain herself of sometimes about what is the right thing for herself. Again, this song to me is all about like it's anxiety and it's wavering and it's uncertain, and so. I think that at the bridge, which is where we often have like a meat or a turning, like the meat of the song or this like turning point of the song is when she finally realizes like, okay, I see through me too sometimes. Like sometimes, and again, for I think for all of the interpretations of see right through me, sometimes I see myself as invisible and I want to hide, or sometimes I see myself as not human, because then you go into the rest of I do think the rest of the bridge is important. All the king's horses, all the king's men couldn't put me together again. Like I am broken and I can't be fixed by other people.
Specifically, can't be fixed by men.
Oof, that's good. Or horses, men and horses. See?
Yeah.
The patriarchy. Men and horses.
Oh my God. That's Barbie.
You know, it had to be a Barbie reference. All of my enemies started out friends, help me hold on to you. So the people who hate me now didn't always hate me. They started out on my side. Help me hold on to you, whether that's you, a person, you meaning like myself and who I am and as a, you know, at my core.
Jody, you're going way too fast.
Sorry. It's the only way I know how to do things.
Speed of light over here.
Yeah, that's
Well,
what I
it
do.
is interesting. So we get to the end of Humpty Dumpty of all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put me back together again, which is implying to me that the song before this is her fracturing into those pieces because we don't get the action of needing to be put back together in this line. So the implication is by the time we get here, she is already in pieces.
Broken.
Well, all the people seeing through you would do that to you.
Yeah, there's like a fracturing that's happening.
Yeah, a fracturing of self.
Or if you're glass, like if you're
yeah, my heart was glass, I dropped it. Your heart was hers, his heart was glass. But heart of glass is, yeah, fragile.
I do actually, I kind of I'm starting to understand what Jody was saying. It's taking me a second.
It's
But
fine.
like,
I barely understand what I was saying. So
no,
I'm
I
still
think
working on
like,
it.
okay, the order in which she talks about these seeing through me's, it does start with see right through me repeated 3 times. So it's like they see right through me, they see right through me, they see right through me. It could change in meaning and initially start off as like I'm invisible, they're seeing right through me. They're not understanding me, they're not understanding who I am. Then maybe there's like an asking of like, can you see right through me like them? Like, are you able to see who I like? Maybe the meaning shifts a little bit and it's like, can you see me for who I am, or can you see right through me? Like, which one is it? And then there's like maybe like a realization of like, I see right through me, which is like maybe the shattering moment and being like, even I am.
Yeah. And to go on this idea of glass or to be seen through, you either have to be glass or you have to have space in between you. And if you had space in between you, you would shatter either your glass, or if there was space in between and you were in pieces, you
Like
would
you're
shatter
two
even
different
faster.
pieces. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm broken. Like you're seeing
about-
through the cracks, maybe. You're seeing through the cracks of me rather than seeing through.
Well,
And there's that Japanese technique where you put gold in
Yeah.
between,
Wait, no.
using gold to repair things.
We're going off. Tangent.
Kintsugi. Well, that's what I think about.
Abort.
Okay,
No, I mean, you're
fine.
right, but we're not, there's no gold here.
So
But it's so pretty.
it is very pretty. So if we go back though, we have this ghost imagery of I pace like a ghost. I have a good point.
Okay,
yes. Okay, continue.
Okay, so I pace like a ghost. They see right through me, they see right through me. And then you have the question. What it's now making me think of too, though, is the really common like trope of when someone like dies and becomes a ghost, and then but they don't know they're a ghost, or they're wandering earth and they're like, everyone sees right through me. And then it's asking someone, can you see through me? It's like,
yeah.
it's asking it like, can you not?
Yeah.
Like, what's going
Yeah.
on here? Yeah, that it's kind of this like invisible ghost floating around and finding someone that you're like, maybe they can't. Like, can you find
I think the answer
your
is
lover,
all
your
of the
partner,
above.
someone. Yeah, I mean, it can be all of
I
it.
think the answer is all of the
I
above.
just think that ghost imagery is we use that ghost imagery and then we get into seeing through, and I think that there is maybe
All
still
connected.
that there's something there.
Yeah,
I
And then
do
we
also
shatter
like
into
the
pieces.
I do like the idea that it could be like through your cracks. It's like you're cracking on the surface, and so somebody can see through you. Not like the cracks are not filled with gold, because then you wouldn't be able to see through.
Maybe that's the
So
next song.
They're clear. But yeah, okay. So then like let's say you have somebody who is shattered, like and people are seeing through the cracks, and then all the king's horses, all the king's men couldn't put me together again. Like yes, patriarchy, yes, Ken world,
Humpty Dumpty.
sure.
I go back to I never grew up. It's getting so old.
I don't know if I love this interpretation, but I like the idea of being put back together again. Maybe I think I might just be really committed to this like man versus self conflict. But the idea is that there's no one external that can put this person together again. Like all of these people cannot fix this person. So therefore, what is the best option is probably that person putting themselves back together again. And to me, that might be the help me hold on to you of I'm putting myself back together again after all of this fracturing.
I have to
help
do it
me
by
hold
myself.
on to you. I have to find the true self. I have to put that self back together. I don't want to put on the dark side. I don't want to be the archer. I don't want to be in combat. I need to find the true self. That as I'm piecing myself back together again, because no one else could do it, nor should anyone else do it. This is like your own journey to figuring that out, that you're trying to hold on to something core to yourself as you're trying to figure that out.
I also think it's interesting that it's like it couldn't put me back, like all of these people couldn't put me back together again because all of my enemies started out friends.
So you can't trust anyone to put you back together.
Anyone. Yeah. So it's like normally you would look to your friends to help you pick up the pieces or whatever, but
or even to know who you are, right? I go back to the idea that, you know, if you've got friends who you've had for a really long time, those can often be a very grounding force in your life to remind you of who you are and what's important to you. And it sounds like all of my enemies started out friends, so I don't have that.
But I also wonder if all the king's horses and all the king's men are her friends also. Like, it's like they can't put me back together because they're now enemies, but they used to be my friends. Like, it's the same people. It's like, it's an interesting way of saying that, because I think all the king's horses, all the king's men, yes, it means patriarchy. It also means like people in power, or like
Yeah.
prominent people. You're not just anybody. You're king's horses, you're king's men. And so it's like, you can't rely on people in high places, people that you knew. You can't rely on them to help you get back up.
I read that as I can't rely on the esteem or praise or how other people see me to be what puts me together and gives me a sense of identity.
And from this Taylor perspective, I'm sure for her whole career, she's had the extreme version of that with media and other people in music industry saying, this is who you are. This is how I identify you. Here's the pieces you can keep. Here's the pieces you can't keep. All of these people were her friends, and then they turn into enemies. So like they can't put her back together again.
Can't rely,
yeah.
You can't rely on those people in high places to actually help you when you need it.
Right. Or know you. Like, even in my example, there were many times where I was like, you could have asked me. Like, I could have just told you what I'm looking for in my career.
So that takes us into the final chorus, which we obviously have discussed the chorus. And now when you know all this context of like, she is like broken, shattered, can't really turn to anyone for help, has to rely on herself, but she's still like, help me hold on to you. And who could stay? I mean, I'm definitely getting like Eras Tour kind of makes sense to me of like why you turn to the crowd and like point and you're like, who could leave me? But like, who could stay? Like,
had the signs that it's like, we could stay.
Yeah. Yeah. Taylor, I'll stay, or something like that. Well, and then we have the repetition there.
This one feels really different because it doesn't feel combative like it did in the beginning. It now feels like, bring it on.
She ends by saying, all right, I'm ready for it.
I'm ready. I got this. Yeah, I love that part.
And so it goes from a questioning of like, what if I want to challenge the norms maybe? Or like, what if I want to challenge certain things? To like, bring it on, basically.
But also because she's finally saying, you could stay, right? The whole time she's saying, who could ever leave me, darling, but who could stay? And finally she says, who could stay, who could stay, who could stay? You could stay, you could stay. And that person staying, whoever the you is, whether it's herself, whether it's another person, whether it's the band, is what makes her ready for combat. That is what gives her the confidence to be like, yeah, you know what? I am ready for combat.
We figured it out. I think we figured it out.
Okay, well, let's each summarize what we think the purpose is. I think we'll have different shades here.
Yeah, we might have different shades, yeah.
But we should summarize it.
Okay.
I feel very confident about mine, so I can
because
start.
I don't.
I'm very much committed to this man versus self conflict, and I think I've decided the you is a combination of your true self, but also who you want to be. And so it's this constant conflict of, it's a man versus self, but it's almost kind of a good versus evil. Like the archer is killing, a prey is getting killed. So you have some good and evil, dark side. I'm looking for the dark side. I'm falling apart. So there's this fracturing of like, who am I? Which of these am I is kind of the question I'm seeing. And there's this fracturing of self of, I don't know. And it's tearing me apart and it's tearing me apart. And this anxiety of like, who's going to stay? Are you going to stay? And I even see in the can you see right through me being like talking to, again, like kind of like herself of
different
like
sides of herself.
Yeah, like do you know where we're going? Do you know what we're supposed to do? And I think the reason why that feels so true to me is because when we end with you could stay, I see her, she's decided how she's going to piece herself back together. She is looking at that image of who she will be and saying, all right, now I'm ready for combat. I understand who I am. I understand who is going to stay. And I do think the you is definitely self, but I also think there's an element too of we are defined by our community. So I think it's also like, you know, when I say like, who are you? I think the you that wins is not the isolated one. When they say they see right through me, can you see right through me? I do think there's this element too of like, I have found who I am, I have pieced together who I want to be, and I understand how that person interacts with the people she trusts, with the people she cares about. Okay, I'm set, I'm ready for combat. Like, I don't think it's completely isolating just because of like how humans work. That's not how humans work. But I do think it is that anxiety of who am I? I'm fracturing apart. Dark side. Do I see a dark side? Should I be concerned about a dark side? And then at the end, I would argue there's almost maybe a little bit of an integration where she pieced it back together, all the pieces of the different versions of herself, the different eras, if you will, and said, this is who I'm going to be. Now I'm ready to fight. I have centered myself. I will go to combat. I will put myself together again. I will fight for this. I will stay true to this because I have made my decision. Like, I think we end very decisively on this song.
I feel like we could have used this song for psychoanalytic theory because
Maybe, yeah.
I see this, I still see it as an anxiety song. I think this is the journey of self-doubt where it starts out like, who am I? What's important to me? Who do I want to be? And then when she realizes all those things, it's okay. How can I be who I need to be? But this song to me is just all of the wheels turning in your head of self-doubt until you finally figure out what you need in order to be whole and yourself, and that you are the most important person in your own life and you can't rely on what other people think of you or say about you because those enemies started out friends. Like, you have to trust yourself and who you are and find those bits of purpose and like find your own courage. And sometimes there's another person there to help you or other people there to help you to be those anchors, but you have to know the right anchors to pick and not just any sense of, any Joe Schmo. I shouldn't have used that term, but you know what I mean, who's giving you praise, because that might not be the person who really sticks around. I still don't love this song, but it's fine.
I'm basically adding on to Jen's version with like a few minor like nuances, but I think yes to everything. I do think that it's, and Jody, I think you're saying this also, which is like, it's a little bit of internal searching, it's soul searching. I go back to like the title is The Archer. And I think in the song, she repeats over and over again that I've been the archer and I've been the prey. So when we talk about like, who are the different versions of herself, like who are those different selves? I think she's talking about maybe there's more than two, but there's at least two. There's at least the archer and the prey. And I think this song is the journey of becoming the archer confidently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And a few characterizations of the archer that we talked about it a little bit, but like now that I'm thinking about this more, it's like archers are extremely good at taking aim. They can fire a shot and hit their mark. They do it themselves. It's a very manual kind of weaponry. Like, it's not automated.
Independent.
It's like, it's independent. You don't depend on anyone else, but you have to like take arrows. You have to load it. You have to aim. You have to shoot. And then you aim to kill. And I think like in terms of her as an artist, maybe, or if we're talking like the professional route, it's like she has been in multiple positions, but she is like ready to like take aim, fire, and kill by the end of this song. By the end of this song, she is like ready for combat. She's confident. She's like, bring it on. I can do this. And the process of getting there, though, was one filled with so much self-doubt.
Yeah, anxiety.
Fearing the negative, like fearing all of the different pitfalls that can bring you down, fearing the dark side of fame, fearing the people who have doubted her,
who have abandoned her.
And the you is so interesting because we discussed it for so long. And I do love the idea that the you is that version of herself. But I also love the idea that the version of herself is like the original self, the person that started making music for the fans, the reason for why you started all of this in the first place, like that original maybe child that never grew up. And you're trying to get back to that moment. And you're like, help me hold on to that version of myself. And by the end, she realizes because the fans can stay, she is able to hold on to that version of herself. Like, she can hold on maybe because the fans are there. And I love the fact that the Eras tour is like how a lot of people started resonating with the song because it does it adds that gravity to it. It makes it make sense to allow a way for us to be able to like insert ourselves into the narrative. But it's like through this whole transformation that you're going through over this entire song, that like something deep inside her, like that old version of herself that created music for a particular thing, is like what she decides she wants to be, but she can do it in a way where she can like aim, fire, and kill. And she's crushing it now. So
she's crushing it.
She did it. Unleashed.
Like, I do enjoy this song in that, like, again, I feel like it's just relatable. I feel like that's just part of growing up, is that internal conflict. I feel like the reason Taylor Swift is so relatable is because she has the female experience to the extreme. Like, when we're trying to figure out who we are, in our mid-20s or something, that's one thing she was doing on
like
the
which
global
version
stage.
of ourselves we're gonna be.
Right. But I feel like, honestly, if you told me this song was the journey from ending 1989 to releasing Reputation, that actually would feel really accurate, because it starts out like, okay, I'm kind of confused, a lot's happening, people are tearing me
Interesting.
apart, there's a lot of fracturing, and then the end is combat. And Reputation was very much a like, fine, I'll fire back kind of like moment. But then she was still true to herself. She did something new. She did it for the fans. She had very gentle music too, very sweet music. But she was also much more like, I will fire my shots at this if I need to.
Yeah, and we like in between those two is where she's also fighting like battles at work, ownership. Like you're also taking on the industry. I don't remember when like her Spotify or Apple Music, iTunes cases happened, but it's like there's a lot of like, bring it on, like we can fight these battles and I'm ready to fight the battles. And I have enough confidence to know that I'm not just going to stumble and fall. I can get through it.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a journey, guys.
Great deep dive choice, though.
Yeah, it's going to be like our longest deep dive, but it was a song that needed it.
So that is all we have for you today on AP Taylor Swift. Join us next time when we figure out what the next song. That was terrible. All right. That's all we have for you today. Thanks for joining us.
That's all we have for you today on AP Taylor Swift. Be sure to rate and review us on your favorite podcast app. Follow us on social at AP Taylor Swift to stay up to date, and join us next time as we overanalyze and deep dive into the next Taylor Swift song on AP Taylor Swift.